Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the March 7th meeting of your select board. We continue to meet virtually only in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. Let's see, call to order, 7 o'clock. Announcements, meeting of the Berlin Select Board are generally recorded for transmission on both the Berlin Cable Television Access Channel and YouTube. Your voice, image, and or telephone number may be recorded. All right, first up on the docket, approval of last week's minutes.
Motion to
Questions,
approve.
comments? All right.
Second,
All right, motion and second, no comments. Stone eye.
Hawkins, aye.
Keith, aye.
Boom chakalaka. All right, Miss June, any correspondence come in?
Had a correspondence come in regards to the mask mandate. I know that the Board of Health had a meeting scheduled, but they had to cancel it. And that I did talk with Sue, and they are rescheduled. Or I should say their next scheduled meeting is on the 15th, and they will take up the mask mandate again then. And we also received our Chapter 90 fund notification. So in FY23, there will be $193,278 available for that.
Nice.
I did check with Fred to find out what the total allotment is now that we have available to use. He will be looking into that and he'll get back to us on that amount.
Is that more than our annual allotment? Do you know, June?
What, the 193?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a little bit higher than it was last year. I think it was either 190 or 191 last year.
Right, and then we add 90 of our own dollars, 90,000
Yep.
of our own dollars to that pool.
Right. Okay.
And we have
Did-
a few years back that we haven't used yet. So that's still, I think, available also.
Yeah, I did see that the bill for the salt was $13,000. Oofa. Okay.
Also, I just wanted to make a note that the on the webpage, COVID tests are available on Fridays from 9 to noon in room 216. I believe it's in the Board of Health office. You just need to bring a proof of residency. So that's available for pickup until supplies are out. And I just wanted to make a note that there was a phone call that we had received in regards to a stop sign somewhere. I just want to
Yep.
make sure that everybody's aware of is that if they have any type of suggestions or thoughts, if they could also leave their name and a callback number, just so that way there, if we can follow up on something, we have some way of doing so, because with this particular phone call, there was actually more information that was needed before we could proceed. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Well, as a whole, I think our correspondence policy is that we generally don't respond to or forward on anonymous things, be it an anonymous letter or anonymous voicemail. And although there was caller ID on it, the caller ID went to a business that has lots of people at it. And so it was not easy to track down, because I think Fred said he did try to call the person
Yeah, I
back.
did. Yeah.
Well, hopefully that person is listening tonight, or, is told, and then we'll get the proper paperwork back into us.
We are open
And
to
that-
suggestions, so by all means.
And then the Board of Health, I'm reading Paul's email, the Neshoba Board of Health person who helps advise us wasn't going to be able to make the meeting, and one of their own was going to make the meeting. And they thought mask mandate discussions were too important just to leave it to two people without outside sort of stuff, which I think is a good call, even though I'm sure people are bummed, and I think I'm also bummed that it didn't get done at the last meeting, but I think that was a good reason to postpone.
Yeah.
I think that's all I have under correspondence.
All righty, so scooting down the agenda, I almost forgot. Is there any general public comment? We have a few folks in the audience tonight. If so, put up your hand, we'll give you a call on, bring you up to the big table. If not, we will chugga along. So if someone can please bring up Chief Shatner.
All right, I'm
There he
here.
is. Hey, Eric, how are
Hey.
you?
Good, how are you doing?
Good. Nice to see you.
It's good to see you guys too. Another Monday night.
Mhm.
Indeed.
Another Monday night. This is where you'll
They
find
seem
us,
to happen every week. Seems odd.
at least for us.
Exactly. All right, so for the month of February, I'll start with the ACO report. I sent you, it was only 6 incidents. I sent everybody the log entries. Did you get those? I set those up. Okay. All right. Yeah. So basically we had 2 cat complaints, 2 dog complaints,
Oh,
1 possum complaint, and 1 sheep complaint for the month of February. On the
Eric-
police, yeah.
I know that there was an incident with an animal bite down at the general store. I don't know if that was reported, but I didn't see
Yeah,
it and didn't know if this
So-
through Neshoba Valley Dispatch is different than just a call in town.
So what happened was because that incident led to criminal complaints, it gets filed under not an animal complaint, it gets filed under a disturbance. So it actually doesn't come up as that. And I know we actually had 2 dog bites last month, and I believe the animal inspector has taken those over.
Okay.
All right, from what I'm told. The animal inspector, one has to deal with a child that I believe lives in Colorado or Utah that was here visiting. So, yeah, there was actually, you are correct, that incident did start with a dog bite, but unfortunately our system only takes the major portion of that call, which was turned out to, I think, be assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. So.
Was that the dog?
Oh,
No, it was the
Okay.
car, it was the car leaving. So that was an open case, so we can talk.
All right,
more.
no comment. We'll move on.
Yeah.
All right, I was just checking because I looked at this and so, yeah, I didn't know
Yeah.
if this was, hey, I'm calling dispatch or I'm calling the phone number that I'm given to
Yeah.
talk about an animal issue. Okay.
No, I wish that's all it was, but it actually turned out to be more, so.
I
All
love
right.
this sheep.
I know, huh? All right, so we'll go into the police side, and the month of February, we handled 858 calls for service. 10 of those cases involved criminal charges. We're down slightly on motor vehicle crashes, and also motor vehicle crashes with injuries were down. Motor vehicle stops were down to 95, and citations were at 51. Obviously, it's a short month. We lost 3 days, but still the numbers are pretty accurate. So to get back to February, Officer Goulding's, Corvo, and myself attended training in Southbridge hosted by the NPTC. The name of the class was Servant Officer. The seminar got into the generational gaps we have in policing and how to work with each other. We discussed where policing has gone wrong over the years and didn't anticipate where it was going nationwide. Thus that comment about where the puck is going.
So where's it going, Eric? Where are you gonna be? Instead of following it, where are you gonna be?
We are so far ahead of the puck. You're gonna remember, like when we got painted with a broad brush over the last 2 years, Berlin was doing those things well prior to them telling us to do them. I think when I came here in 1996, community policing was at the forefront, and most communities, everybody's reactive policing, and we were always proactively policing ever since the day I walked in the doors. So I think that we've always been in great shape. I think where we lacked was when I get into the warrior mindset. When we all went through the police academy, got on the job, it was the warrior mindset. So now they're saying it's good to have the warrior mindset, but lead with your heart versus the warrior. So I think that's what's going to change policing in the future, which I'm very hopeful is a phenomenal class. And the other 2 officers I went with both said hands down, best training they've ever had, and the 2 combined have over 50 years in law enforcement. So, we're definitely looking forward to getting the rest of the officers going. Get 3 more signed up to come up in 2 weeks, and a couple more going in the next class in May. So I think we're definitely well on our way. I think everybody's learning that they have to know the business versus just knowing their role as a patrol officer. They have to know the entire business. And I think that's going to definitely lead us to great places. So for calls this month, I have there February 6th, Officer Plant and Officer Janda responded to a noise complaint at the Rockwell Apartments. And to keep it simple, because things are still outstanding as far as court goes, they were confronted with a gentleman with a knife. Both officers were able to diffuse the situation quickly. Nobody was injured. And I do believe you got copies of letters that I wrote both officers. On February 9th, we got a call up to Cabela's. Loss Prevention had been following a gentleman via videos for almost 2 years, stealing from the store. The loss prevention officer actually happened to catch the person walking in the store and then followed him via video. Our 2 officers responded that were on duty. They started watching. I went up there after about a half hour because I didn't hear anything on the radio. I started watching. The person was being pretty clever in their scheme to steal things. The next shift came on, so we had 2 more officers, fortunately. So we had a total of 5 of us available, and we're able to apprehend them after a 2-year-long shopping spree, I'd say, at Cabela's. And we were fortunate that night, we actually got to use Worcester House of Correction as a holding facility, which saved us tremendous amounts of money in overtime. Also, I sent up to you the letter we got from Chief Annunziato in Boylston on February 16th. Detective Trangone was part of the drug task force, conducted a warrant in Fitchburg, where the Boylston officer was struck by the subject they were going after, his motor vehicle. Fortunately, the officer didn't sustain life-threatening injuries, but he does have injuries, and I don't believe he's back to work yet. But I did send up the mutual aid agreement that they want me to have. It's now been postponed till next Tuesday for the meeting to continue with the drug task force. Let's see, next, Traffic Safety Advisory Committee, engine brake noise bylaw language was voted on and approved by the committee. Draft copy was sent for the town meeting. A request for a stop sign at Carter Street and Central Street was approved as well. And also traffic counts will be done by MassDOT on Gates Pond Road and Coolidge Street to see where we're at today with numbers. When I talked to the gentleman at MassDOT, he said it'd be late February or March that they would start doing the traffic counts for those intersections.
Any questions for Chief Shatner?
Well, I think Cabela's, if they ever question why they paid the public safety mitigation funds on top of some of the property tax they paid, the type of things we just did, that Chief Chartner and his team just did to stop a 2-year theft ring.
Yeah.
That's what they get for some of that money.
Yep, and on top of Alta, I mean, we have a pretty high success rate for catching and prosecuting for the Alta thefts as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's mostly due in part for because of Facebook. It's all social media. I mean, these people live 50, 60, 70, 200 miles away, and we're getting them on Facebook.
Nice.
Chris, anything for Eric?
No, nice job, and keep it up, Eric. And my congrats to your team.
Definitely.
Eric, the only thing that I'd throw in there, I'm thrilled at all you guys that your team, Blue Team, is going to all these trainings. I'm wondering at an upcoming coffee talk, we can do it for April. I think we're going to have one prior to town meeting. I'm looking up at a calendar. If not, maybe another one. Could we have you and or maybe an officer who's has gone, just kind of like come and share and give us a summary of what you've learned and where you're going and your vision for the future of the department? I think that the town would be interested. If you can't get out, you can't have a public meeting where all of us could hang out and we could have a chat, then maybe that's our next best option, is to get the word out there about what you're doing for the department.
Yeah, definitely more than happy to discuss that. I mean, because obviously it impacts our budget. Training is one of our parts of our budget, and usually it's the first part of the budget to get cut. And this is this is the reason why it's important to do your best to get training and to continue with your training.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah,
Awesome.
there's definitely a buy-in, and when you have a phenomenal instructor like Dean Crisp, I mean, the buy-in is there. Like, you get it. You absolutely get it.
That was the video, right, that you sent over?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, he's engaging, and the stories that he tells you, you believe, and he'll walk you through how policing really has changed. And I'm sure all the movements that are in place now, impacts everything that you folks do, from, stopping somebody and knocking on a door or walking up to somebody and saying hi. So,
Well, I mean, it was no different than these officers knocking on the door for a noise complaint, and they're,
and look what you get. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you're keeping everybody safe, out there, and keeping the town safe. So definitely appreciate all that you're doing.
Yep. Now he trains on all his scars. Like, he tells you in his classes that he's teaching you from his scars. Don't create your own. I have them listen to me.
Yep.
So, he was a chief of 700-person department. So he's definitely got a lot to share.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and again, he gives the folks in the town insight, as to what you're doing, so that everyone knows the training that your people are receiving. As you interact with us, as you interact with people you pull over in town that aren't Berlin people, or, up at the mall, snagging bad people. So appreciate it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, June, any questions for Chief?
Oh, I get them all day long. So yeah,
Before I
Great.
forget, we did the interviews. I forgot to put in my report. The interviews were conducted. We ended up interviewing 5. And I have the top couple of candidates. I'm going to make a conditional offer to one officer. I'm just waiting to get some more paperwork from Margaret and a signature to see if I can get a waiver so they can work full-time until the next police academy starts.
That's awesome.
And,
So
yep.
would you then be at full force, or are you still short, or?
Well, I thought I'd be at full force until I found out another officer is in the final stages of going to another town. So,
Okay.
and once again, pay and benefits are far better than what we can offer, and
Mhm.
they're going to be taking the opportunity if allowed. I've talked to that chief, and he definitely is going to hire him. It's just a matter of when. So, but yeah, so I do have the top 2 candidates. So I'm prepared for a second one. The second candidate, unfortunately, has no academy, so they have to be sent to the police academy. So we made up with 2 in the academy at the same time, which is be a little tough on our end, but I'm sure we'll make do.
Well, definitely keep us posted. Let us know if there's anything that we can do for you.
Yeah, I'll know more in the next couple of weeks, and I've already spoken with June about it, and trying to come up with some creative ways, make sure we're all set financially for this too.
Cool. All righty. Oh, we appreciate you, Chief.
All right, we'll see you next
Feel free
week.
to hang around. We'll talk to you. All
I'll be here for a while.
right.
Thanks, Eric.
All right, bye.
All right. So it's not 7:30, but that's okay. Is Julie there? Yes, she is. So if we could bring Miss Julie Lee to the big table.
Was there anything in the folder for this?
Yeah, there is.
There wasn't when I last looked, but that would have been a day or 2 ago.
Yeah, I know it's in there. I saw it.
I usually go, do my homework over the weekend. So if it goes
Yep.
in later, then I don't see it.
Yep. I'm usually Sunday afternoon, if Sunday, not Sunday morning.
Look
Meetings and appointments,
in,
recreation fee schedule.
Yep.
The folder itself is still empty. Maybe it's somewhere else.
oh, it is. Yeah.
Is it an email?
It was an email with an attachment. Let me see if I can find it. And then, oh, I see Julie doing this.
Yeah,
Are you
she
talking to us? No?
She can't hear us, I don't think.
she's working
Uh,
on
she's
it, I
not-
think.
Yeah, she's working on it because she's not muted and we can't hear her.
Ah, all right. in the meantime, let me see if I can find that email.
Maybe she should log in again. You think that would help?
I think so, because I don't see even a microphone icon. So Julie, you might need to jump out and jump back in. All right, it says
See,
connect.
this is what,
Yeah, I don't think
This
she
is-
can hear you.
She can hear us.
yep,
Oh, can
yep,
she?
she's reconnecting audio. She's gonna try to call. She's gonna get tech support. While we're doing it, this is why we tried this 10 minutes early so that we can get this fixed in time. I'm still looking. I haven't found anything in the emails yet.
All right, hang tight. Let me,
Well, it's okay. It's just that I wanted to let you know I hadn't seen it.
yeah,
Yep. Well, it's also not in the folder, so I didn't see it either on Sunday, and I'm unlikely to have done so because I like generally deferring to committees if they've have something even
Right.
reasonably. Oh, look, there we go.
Yay, yeah. All right, so this is the form that Julie sent up, and obviously we'll scroll through a little bit better when she comes back. But I mean, I know that we'll have to talk to her as well to see.
I don't think the select board office was copied. If you could send it my way, unless I'm mistaken.
All right, hold please. Can you stop sharing?
No, not now. Just you go ahead and do your, definitely not now.
I know, but let me forward. Oh, I hear her.
Oh, she's switched from laptop to phone. Oh, there she is. There's at least a microphone icon that now says muted.
All right, boom chakalaka, coming your way.
Yay.
Hey,
I'm sorry. I'm
Oh,
sorry. I
there.
mean, you'd think I'd have this all figured out by now. Whoopsies. Okay. Hi, guys.
Hi,
Hi.
Julie, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. How's everyone doing?
Good,
Good.
feeling
Yeah,
better?
make our way through the meeting.
Great. Yep. One day at a time.
All right, so Julie, I'm gonna bring up your fee schedule application. If you could
Yep.
walk us through it, that would be awesome. Tell me where
Sure
you want to
thing.
start and where you want to stop.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so recreation finally put to paper a field request form for when we're going to have people that want to rent the space. This is a really rough draft, so it's definitely a work in progress. It's not going to print anytime soon. But what we did was basically we compared surrounding towns and what they were charging for fields to rent their grounds. Okay, so we work in partnership with our youth programs, and because of that, we didn't feel it was in good faith to charge our youth programs an exorbitant fee to use the fields because there are youth programs. So that's what you're seeing in the yellow there, where it says Berlin Youth and Adult Leagues. We're just going to ask for a charge of $75 a field per season. So soccer, depends on how many kids they have. It's a booming program right now. Can have between 5 to 6 fields a season, and they run fall and spring. So they would pay us, pay rec $75 a field, boop, flat fee, depending on how many fields they have. And then we decided for the non-residents, say if an adult team, which we have somebody interested that wants to rent the back field for their men's league for games once a week, we would charge them a higher fee of $70 an hour, which seems like, holy cow, that's so expensive compared to the youth programs or the residents. But the reality is that they're non-residents. They just need a space, so we want to charge them something. So we're going to start generating some income back to rec for the fields. Remembering, we had a conversation with FinCom about the fields, and the fields need a lot of work, as we know, just to maintain the fields. Just basic maintenance, like aerating, seeding, slice seeding, that's upwards of $15,000 a year. Because that's like, you guys know, South Commons is a big amount of turf down there. So we have to start getting to the point where we have people coming in that want to rent, those fields, and that we can generate some income so we can help offset our budget to maintain those fields. So this is where we're at right now. It is going to, we're going to get into a situation, I know, with the pickleball courts, because, we're not looking to certainly charge any resident a fee to use, any of the fields down there. This is just for organizations or groups. So if like a pickleball group wanted to use it from 9 to 11, then we would do a charge on that. Pickleball, actually, and it's in the basketball courts, are going to be different fees, and the tennis courts, because we're obviously not going to charge $70 an hour for a pickleball, because that's way too high. So we haven't really honed in on those fees too much, but comparatively with other towns, this is reasonable. So that's kind of where we're at. We did have on here, everyone has to, in addition to filling out the form, they have to carry their own liability insurance. They do have to sign a copy of, we're going to have some field rules on there that are pretty self-explanatory, but we do want to have that people just sign that. And then that was basically it. So
Like,
yeah.
how long is a normal a game, as far as like a non-resident, if they were to come in at the $70 an hour, how many hours is that normally?
Sure. So it depends on the season and what sport it is. But for soccer, for like a men's league, they're looking at about 8 games for this spring season. Fall might be different, right? And I don't know the answer to that, June. So it might be a little bit more. Priority obviously would go to our town and our youth programs. So these are outside of that. We fill our fields first with our youth programs and our anything residential wise for us. And then if there's available space, we'd rent it out. I do know that, like, for the baseball program, AAU baseball teams are always looking for fields, and our fields literally just sit there empty, and where we can kind of be generating income, to come back, and they pay. I mean, because it's so hard to get fields, we're in a pretty good situation, and we know enough people now around in these AAU programs and these different leagues that we can pull in groups.
Isn't like the average baseball softball game just about an hour?
Oh yeah, to answer, that's right. Thank you, Scott.
That's
It's
how
about an
old you are, Scott.
Right. You got to keep me focused, but that's correct. Baseball, no, baseball tends to run a lot longer. You could be there an hour and a half, 2 hours for baseball, but definitely soccer, hour in and out.
So I would say that $70 an hour isn't too bad for non-residents. I mean, when you look at the number of people on a team, and if it's 2 teams, I think if everybody just, you split it between everybody, that's not too bad.
Perfect.
Julie, I had a question. You mentioned
ahead.
baseball, and I know that form is probably in process, but do any of the field usage fees that you have here take into consideration electricity for that scoreboard when it goes up, and or anything that you're doing to the fields, like the True Green people when they come in, or the goose poop people, if they're different people? I mean, so does that, is that in that fee? And if not, is there any consideration to maybe, I don't want to make it exorbitant, but boost the fee a little bit to cover those costs?
So that's a great question. So when we had a conversation with the finance committee, the finance committee was in support of a lot of what we're using our budget money for, the goose poop and the trash and the fields, shifting out of our domain and moving that into facilities. how this all shakes out. We just
Yeah.
started the conversation about it all so that we can really focus more on the programming piece of it all rather than having to worry about, you know, okay, we know Goose Patrol is $600 a year, so then I'm going to charge maybe $80 per team per hour to offset that. If
Yeah.
we're in a situation where we have to do that, we'll definitely look at that, Peg. That's actually a good perspective. But we're hoping that there's some kind of shift here with, you know, what recreation is paying for and what we should be paying for to fulfill our charter.
Yeah, because
Right.
I mean, it's been talked about. I mean, your charter should not be portable toilets and trash. You know, your charter should be getting people in here to use the fields, whoever those people are. So then there's almost like a plan A and a plan B. If the charges shift this way, you'll go with these rates. If the charges need to stay with you, you'll shift and increase these rates a little bit.
That's right. And that's a conversation we really have to, we meet with finance again this month. So we're going to have to, we sort of have two different scopes that we're going to be working with. You know, here's what our, you know, ideal thing looks like.
Yeah.
And here's in case it goes this way, you know.
What are you looking at for schedules? Like how quick would this need to be up and running? I mean, right now, I'm sure the field, like everyone's backyard, is just a puddle of soup.
Right, exactly. And I mean, I'm meeting with True Green next week to talk about the turf out front to kind of, because originally, you know, the plan was we have to level it. I mean, there's parts of that turf that are questionable and people could get hurt, like more than just the normal hurt where you trip and fall. I mean, there's some rolling greens there, and if we're having athletes play on that becomes an issue. So they're going to try to come out next week and say, like, all right, what do we need to do? Do we need to blow this field out, nuke the whole thing, start fresh, bring in fill, or can we just kind of, they're hopeful they can patch a lot of that up to level it out. But yeah, the soccer season starts April 9th. So we have a, you know, not that long, but we've, you know, we've played in worse. So it's okay, you know, but I think people are just getting to the point that they're, you know, they were excited when the backfield got built up, you know, and it leveled out and it looks awesome and it's playable. And, you know, when people from other towns come and, you know, you hear them on the sidelines talk about that, you know, we can only do as much, you know, defending as we can. We do the best we can, but hopefully everything's gonna, but we only have one prospective rental right now, and they're willing, as it stands right now, they're willing to pay the $70 an hour.
Okay.
No problem.
June, any questions? If you could flip hats from like TA2 to town accountant, any questions that you have?
Well, I know I did talk to Margaret about this, and she's trying to come up with some creative ideas. We do still have the revolving fund in place, and I think the biggest thing is going to be trying to figure out where's the best place to put some of these expenses. Like Julie said, Finance Committee was for putting it more into a different section. Either way, it doesn't matter. It's still going to come out of town funds. The
Right.
question was, is that you do have a revolving fund, and what would be the best way is to hopefully try to figure out a way to help offset some of those costs where us having to do special things for the fields, to have it offset by some of these user fees. But also to work with you and Margaret and the select board to try to figure out what the actual programs are also, because I know right now we don't have any program funds as far as a budget request goes for this coming year. So I didn't know where that's actually stood.
Right.
So Margaret's big thing was to see if there was a way for us to try to start offsetting some of the costs now that you are going to be getting the scoreboard in, and then the work that needs to go into the fields and also the courts and things like that. I mean, I don't think by looking at it, there's any way to actually pay for itself. So it's still going to have to be, I think, offset by some budget money,
Yep.
at least now. at least to start it within the next year or so. So, and
Yeah.
again, we're getting into that time where we're getting close to the end of the budget preparation area. So I don't know if it's going to all be able to be done this year, or if it's going to be a combination of work starting this year and then working into next year also.
Mhm. And what
Yeah.
I do too on my end with, I'm sorry, on my Excel spreadsheets is the money that we get that comes in through the soccer program just gets earmarked to go right into paying out the True Green from revolving. And then the same thing with basketball, whatever the men's basketball pays will go into the refurnishing, or whatever basketball program pays goes into the hoops. So I try to keep it, but even still, there's only so much,
Right.
like you
Right.
said. Right.
Yep.
So we'll just do the best we can.
I mean, imagine this is it's going to follow the pattern that several of our programs that have user fees but don't pay for everything, like cemetery, like 1870 town hall, like ambulance receipts, even in some respects, where the money comes in, goes into the revolving fund. We spend most of it out of that, but there is a little bit of art and fangling of when a bill comes in. Yes, it could come out of the budget. Yes, it could come out of revolving fund, and we sort of have you end up with a pattern after a while. I mean, I think like the oil bills generally used to, at least in 1870 town hall, come out of the revolving fund when we add a lot of events there, and some of the other fees, some of the repairs came out of the maintenance. And we'll figure that out as we go.
Okay. Yep.
But it becomes an easier thing to do when there is money in the revolving fund. So things we can do to increase that money makes this an easier conversation to have.
Right. Okay.
Julie,
That's
when are
great.
you meeting with finance again?
It's sometime this month, and I don't know. I know that's
Right.
not helpful. They didn't actually give a date.
I was going to say, as of right now, there's nothing scheduled.
Okay, perfect. So there was no scheduled date. So I'll reach out to them and find out.
All right,
Love meetings. I can't
I know,
do it. I can't get enough. I can't get
because
enough.
that's what you do. Yeah, so
But I
after you meet
also
with-
think that we need to have a budget. That's the big thing, is right now there's nothing in writing that can even be submitted to finance. So I think that's one of the big things, is if you have other programs or other thoughts and ideas, those are going to have to
Yeah.
be put down somehow on paper.
That's right. And Mary Porter was saying that too. She said you need to look at the year, break it up in seasons. What do you want to run for programs? And think about everything. Advertising. How are you going to pay for that? That goes in your budget. And I said, oh, Madon, this is, yeah, all right. I can do this. We can do this.
Yep.
But it is a lot of upfront work, but I think it's going to be such good stuff for the community once we kind of.
Going to be wonderful, but we're on a time constraint, so we got to work on it.
Okay, all right. Deadline. What's the deadline? What's the
June, give her a
deadline?
deadline. Julie works best
Last
with
week.
deadlines.
Last
Next week?
No, last
Week?
Shit.
Yes.
Okay. Shit. Okay.
because we
All
have
right,
2
all
weeks
right.
to finalize.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Then I'm gonna it's gonna look awful. You're gonna look at it and say I think has she been drinking? You know what I mean? But it's just gonna be what, and I'm basing this on, for the past couple weeks, I've just been looking at other towns, what they're running for programs, and pulling ideas and putting them in categories: seniors and teens and middle and toddlers. And
Well, I
I
mean,
just say-
you
I
could
mean,
always,
I don't
could
think you
start basic. You could start
Right.
basic
Yep.
and have it grow,
okay.
Yeah.
you know?
To say, I would not make perfection enemy of the good.
Yeah.
Get something that's ballpark, get something that sort of makes some sense to you, and think that will get us through this year and potentially next year's budget, because you'll have some more experience with it, gets a little bit better and closer, and
Yeah.
other pieces. Because I think
We
that
can't-
gets
we
us
can't
started.
lose we can't lose you in this job either.
I know.
Oh, she's
thank
not
you.
going anywhere.
No, I'm
And
not
I
going
know-
anywhere. So far, right?
You know what? We all know where she lives. She's not going
Right.
anywhere. So-
And Julie really
Okay.
likes to do this, but it's just, you are also just a few people and you can only do so much in a year.
Yep.
So,
I know.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
but
right.
we've got to start somewhere to give you a little bit of seed money so that you can actually start with
Okay.
that process.
So can
So-
I ask you one thing, June, not to sabotage this meeting? Should I give you a budget then with including what we have now with the portables, the goose, the field?
I would
And
say
then-
yes.
Okay.
And then what are your added programs? Because either way,
Okay.
all of those maintenance things are still going to have to go into
Right.
a budget. whether it be yours or highway or
Okay.
buildings, or it's still got to go somewhere. So we can't just drop it and forget about it either.
Okay, all right, perfect. All right, I'm on it. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Julie, don't go because next up is
No.
June's TA report and
Okay.
I have a question for her that's gonna kind of bounce to you. So I want to ask her first. June's like, oh my God, I'm being set up. And then we'll,
Bring it on. Come on.
Yeah,
You know
I'll be
what?
on. I'll stay.
okay. All right.
Okay, thank you guys. I appreciate
Cool.
you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. So with that lead in there, Ms. Poland, otherwise known as TA2, you are up for the TA report.
I think I hit most of the stuff when we were going through correspondence. The only other thing I think I needed to add was I did talk to Fred in regards to snow and ice, and depending on what the weather does, I am in the process with working with Margaret to approve overspending the account because we currently have $4,242.55 as of the last storm. So we may wind up having to go over on that.
But- To be able to make it to March without being in deficit is actually pretty good, because I think that means that
Yeah.
well, even if we have some storms, which we will
Right.
likely have some storms still, the amount of deficit is probably something we can cover from reserves and not needing a town meeting article.
And that's what we're hoping for. I think Margaret was going to throw on a holding placeholder just in
Yep.
case we needed to, but I'm hoping if it's mild, then we
Right.
should be able to cover it.
Yep.
I think that was it, actually. Everything else we kind of touched based on already, I think.
So here's my question with the loop back to Mrs. Lee. I know it's come up before, but the equipment down at, or the playground down at Berlin Memorial.
Playground, yes.
Yeah, you had talked about bringing in Maya, and actually when I was trolling Facebook, because, well, that's how I relax, is I troll Facebook. There's questions out there about why is that playground taped off? I didn't respond to it, of course. I was gonna email Julie and tell her to respond to it. But didn't know what the timing was.
We actually talked about that a few meetings back. It was brought to our attention that it is dangerous. We talked to Maya at that time, I believe, and and can't remember if it went to town council also, but we were told to coordinate off so that way there at least it's in a safe area. And then it was going to be, we needed to contact a playground inspector, which I did get the names for it. There's a few people in the area locally, not real locally, but in the area that we could call to come out and take a look at it to see what we need to do to make it safe. It's just at the time when I was doing it, we had that tons of snow coming
Yeah.
back to back. And Margaret and I actually talked about it last week a little bit. And I believe she was going to reach out to the Maya lady that she had been dealing with to see if they could set up an appointment to go out and take a look and look at it. Because I mean, if it's just a matter of making it safe with bark mulch or whatever it is that's needed, we could do that very easily. But I know Julie had mentioned something about doing some major repairs, and she was talking thousands upon thousands of dollars. So it depends on what situation we're looking at. The only thing is that we really need to have some sort of a better plan on taking care of our items when we get them, whether it be recreation. I know that with that particular playground, I believe that was under recreation, but I'm just thinking that with the whole discussion with who's going to do what with recreation, it would be good to include those types of things also as to where the maintenance is going to be coming from.
So thinking forward, and I'm trying to remember the structures that are down there that I've probably fallen off at some point in my life. If any are deemed like really, really bad and they need to come out, is that something that highway could assist with? Or, you know, because where Julie's talking about the first games are around the weekend of April 9th, you know that there's just going to be kids flooding everywhere, and they can go over and play on the other side of the school. But I would just hate
For
for
safety purposes, if we can get it fixed, that would be a better idea versus making sure nobody accidentally goes through the tape and does
Well,
that
you know that
kid
they're gonna
thing.
go through the tape. You know that they're gonna go through the tape, or they're just gonna crawl over it, and hop on something. Like that. Okay.
So we're talking about the playground that's on South Common, not behind the school.
Yeah.
And
Memorial,
it's
yeah.
basically
One where all the
for-
bricks
for-
are.
It's
Yeah.
basically for little kids. I mean, it's not for, 6th graders, for example, right?
Yeah, but anybody plays on them.
I know, but it was built because for like a toddler age child who passed away,
Mhm.
and that's why it was built. And so that's the age group I think they were targeting.
Yeah.
So maybe Julie could tell us what exactly, is there a quick fix for at least a while or no?
Julie, you're on mute.
Yep.
Here she comes. There
Okay,
she
yeah.
goes.
Okay, so I reached out to the company that just did the BMS playground. Great company, great guy. And he said he would come out Wednesday morning. He'd meet me down there and quickly do a quick little, he doesn't want to do an inspection because he said when you put things to paper, then you're on it. So what he'll do with me is we'll do a quick walkthrough and he'll advise on anything that needs to be immediately, in his professional opinion of doing this for 30 years, is a hazard right now and has to be removed right off the top. So there's that. He said, how bad is it? And I said, geez, I don't know. I'm not a playground girl. I do know the mulch is not at the level it should be. Chris, you're totally right. It is for younger kids. It was built, it is the dedication playground, and it was built with the young child in mind. So there has to be a certain fall depth. So if we can just, the guy said too, what we could do is long-term, I think the playground has been not maintained for so long that it will have to be a rip and replace situation, with the possible exception of the swings because they're steel. So that's good structure. The rest of the equipment that's in there, although some of it's steel, is rusting and some of it's cracking and bending. But he's going to go through and say, this is good, this is okay. Basically, at this point, let's get you up to compliance so we can open up for you guys in April. And then start thinking, longer, maybe that's why we had applied for CPA money or the ARPA funding, whatever, because we want to add also an ADA compliant structure. There's nothing there for children that have any kind of disabilities or handicaps. On the other side of the road there is, but not on this side, on our town side. So we're not even in compliance there either. So we could get it up to snuff, I'm hoping. I won't know until Wednesday after I meet with the guy and have a conversation with him. But he did say, even if because I said, what could we get a playground in 7 weeks if money fell from the sky? And he said, absolutely not, because all playgrounds, you're looking at 3 to 4 months for the to get a playground built. So that's going to take some time, but you have to have it up to code, period.
Yeah.
So
is this guy an inspector, basically?
Yes, his company does inspections too. They do soups and nuts.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
They'll do the whole thing. And they were awesome with BMS. We had no problems with them and the playground's great. The kids, your grandkids play on it. They love it there. So
Yeah. So I would say it maybe can just have June, keep June,
sure.
I was just going to say, do you think this was something, I don't know what Fred's schedule looks like, and I hate to keep piling it on to Fred, but I didn't know if he could maybe meet with you when he's there, because that way there he'd at least be able to know how much the highway can do at this point in time versus what they don't have time for. But
Perfect.
Okay, so if you can just let me know or reach out to Fred.
Yep, I'll reach out to Fred. I'll call him and see, and if he can, he can, and if not, either way though, I'll let you know what becomes of the meeting with this guy, and I'll let the board know so that everybody's on the same page. All right, awesome guys. This is
awesome.
perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Julie. I appreciate it.
All right, you got it. Thanks, everyone.
Have a good night.
Thanks so much. You too. Bye.
All righty. Okay, Miss June, you're still up. We are up to FY23 budget requests, recommendations on budget line.
I'm wondering if we could just switch that and the ARPA stuff. I think there's several people in the audience who are just here to sort of hear our
Okay.
ARPA conversations. And I don't
Alright.
think that's going to be super long, so we've limited to just 5 minutes a person anyway.
Correct. All right, Chris, you good with it?
Yeah,
All right. Since Scott, you suggested it,
Okay,
tag, you're it.
because we're limited to 4 topics as opposed to 4
Correct.
things to fund. I'm going to stay just to things to fund, although I think in the future, having conversations about what we think are duplicates and what we think should be dropped because they're not going to meet our criteria could be just as useful.
Yep.
And so I want to start with Julie's topic. I would love to approve now the $75,000, up to $75,000 to fix the playground, because as she said, there's already a 3 to 4 month wait. And I didn't see this as an item on the warrant article anyway, but having the money available now versus having the money available in June and May does move that process along, that maybe this summer we could still have a revised playground there. And I think that's one of those that has both a community-wide need. There's not opposition. I think anyone who says, no, we need to keep a crossed off playground. And yes, I bet there could be grants out there somewhere, and I bet we could do it in a special town meeting this fall. But again, I think there's a timeliness issue that should almost be approved now.
but now can I just ask a question?
Mhm.
What did she just say? 3 months out?
3 to 4 months out to build.
If she had the money, today, and she doesn't,
Yeah.
so unless we give her the money today.
Right, but the other option is, would 3 months, let's see, what would 3 months out from now be?
June.
June or July.
Yeah.
Okay, so we would have already had our May town meeting, and we could do it that way too.
No, but if she can't start the process until she has the money, that means she starts in May then, and we don't get it till August or September.
Okay, all right.
That's why I wanted, and I thought I looked at the
That's my
draft warrant
question.
article. I didn't see a warrant line for it.
No, there isn't any. I didn't see anything. I think there's an ARPA request
Some-
for
I think
There-
there was
there is a-
75. Yeah.
I think that they
There is
put through,
Yep.
sorry, Scott.
Go ahead.
But it is our.
I was gonna say, I thought they had actually put in for CPA funds, but they had told them no,
Right.
that they didn't have the funding for it.
Yeah. All right.
So, I mean, but it is our warrant, correct? So if we did want to put a warrant on, we could.
We probably could.
Yeah.
It would, in my book, it delays us getting a playground by 2 months.
All right. Scott, what's your second
Okay.
one?
I thought, we're gonna vote on this or not? Because I was thinking I was gonna move that we actually give them
Probably want to
75,000.
hear everybody's all.
Okay, sure.
for.
Sure. Okay, that's fine. My second one is the giving the Historic Society $60,000 for their historic architects, so they can start doing the RFPs. And actually, I believe they need the historic architect even to spend the $100,000 we've already given them, but put them in a position to be able to write a comprehensive and accepted grant next fall. And although they did ask for money from the CPA didn't give them enough to do the entirety of the architectural drawings. And so that would be number 2.
So now, wait a minute, which one is this, Scott?
This is $60,000 for a historic architect. And it's listed a couple of different places on the original spreadsheet. So pick one of them. And then my third one is the
Can I just chime in
$15,000.
and say the ARPA spreadsheet that's in tonight's folder under old business? I'm gonna live time write Scott's 1, 2, 3, 4 in the
Okay.
column next to those asks.
Good, because I have my own copy that I've done a lot of commentary on, so that I
Well, if you
know.
want to send it
Anyway,
over, you got, I can.
no,
word it.
because mine are more personal commentary and are not the reflection of actions of the Board of Select Board.
Gotcha.
The third one would be the $15,000 for the roll-up housing on the highway facility building, because again, that is costing us money because it's leaking heating and air conditioning, and it's just not a good energy efficient use. And my fourth one would be pick a number. I'll say 25,000. You can change the number for roadside tree removal. Again, we have so many trees that has been an issue for a long time. There's not money on the warrant for it, although we will have a bucket truck that potentially can help us extend what we can do ourselves or hire outside contractors. The money we have set aside will still take us years to get through the backlog, and this allows us to chip away at a little bit. I wouldn't think this necessarily be the last time we give potentially ARPA money for it, but at least gets us started before all the leaves are there, where, well, leaves aren't on the dead trees, but before we get our summer storms that might take some of them down. And those
So-
would be my 4.
Can you just tell me what number 3 was again? I'm trying to.
3 is the highway facility roll-up housing.
That was the
The
inexpensive.
The garage was meant to be zero net cost effective, yet the design for the overhead doors did include a top ceiling of the door, causing constant running of the heat units when the door is open.
Okay.
It came from Fred. And then the tree removal didn't have a number on it, but I think we could put in a plug number to get us started. And I would, again, put in something like 25,000 to get us started.
All right, Chris, you're up,
Why me?
because I'll go last. I'll go next if you want me to go next. It's your
No,
call.
I had questions on some of them that, so let's see. Well, I'll put it out here. One of them was the design engineering for road traffic safety pedestrian infrastructure projects to qualify for Mass DOT grants and or TIP. See what else I had.
And I think that one, probably along with the other one in the center of town, or, sidewalks, no sidewalks heading to Carterville, and then the safe streets. I want to say that we would need to come up with, June, help me, 20 to 25% of the overall cost. So I think it's hard to say.
Right,
what
but I
do you-
didn't know we
so
were
I think
doing
everyone
these.
was shooting between like 20 and 25 and 50.
I didn't know we were doing these so that they, these were my top priorities. It wasn't like it was priority because we need them now. It was priority, like Scott says, seems to be things that we need to get going now, or maybe it is his top priorities too. I'm not sure. So
I have others I like. I have a ton that I have thousands of questions on that I think are great ideas. But
Well,
yeah, I was thinking of things worthy of releasing the money now, but that it also doesn't mean there's not others that we should prioritize to get the details so they are in a position to spend the money.
So one of my other ones was a new alternative energy option for the highway facility. And I'm not quite sure why it's at 10,000 and I don't have that paper in front of me. Because I thought it was going to be more like a couple 100,000.
There
I don't
was
have that. Go ahead.
was a grant, and I think it was around 10,000 that I wrote to get Beth Greenblatt, is that her name in here?
Mhm.
To work with the Energy Committee on putting together a potential RFP to look at solar on the roof, solar on the ground, solar somewhere else in town for that. So I don't know, that might be where you got your 10 from. I think that was the amount of the
Well,
grant from
It
last
says
year.
10. It says
Yeah.
10. I don't know why.
Fred, this is not solar. This is oil reclamation. So people dump their waste oil at one location in town. They collect it, they burn it. And I suppose they take it out of their own crankcase and they burn it. That's what that $4,000 to $10,000 request is
Okay.
for. If
So-
you're really
so-
looking at solar, and June wanted a note put in here that Energy Committee, maybe June, you want to expand on that. On the solar thing separate, kind of. than
And
that one.
where would that be?
It should be on here and I did not add it. I can add it in the same chunk of the blue highway categories, highway facility, further research into solar. But June wanted a note added. June, I'm getting to it right now. That energy is already pursuing green communities or with a consultant.
Yeah,
Well, I thought
during-
maybe there would be an opportunity for a grant for that particular item for solar. And that's why I was going to say, that's what I thought that was.
The reason why I asked for a note to be put there was because I had read the Energy Committee's town report. And in their town report, it actually mentioned something about a grant in regards to solar. And I just wanted us to make sure that when we're going through these, that we know of all the different areas or aspects of them so that we don't duplicate any unneeded,
Right.
money or energy. So that's why I asked for that note to be
Uh,
there.
the solar project go lines 84 through 86, with Bob Blair actually as the person who got them put on the spreadsheet, but you're right. We have talked about them for this particular money a couple of different times.
Yeah.
I could put it down with Bob Blair's, you think?
Well, I mean, my point of choosing was something that we could get grants for by spending ARPA money on it. That was why I was choosing them.
Okay, what are your other two?
I have to. Well,
Scroll through your notes.
I don't have any notes really. I
Okay.
just put stars beside some of them. The other one was any of the Bullard House things that we could get grants by spending some ARPA money on. And so I didn't know which ones would be best to choose, whether it's the 284,000 or the 100,000.
I think some of those are duplicative. There is a state grant that allows to match up to $100,000 on historic reservation of properties. And so the total bill estimated right now without the historic architect looking at it, looks like about 480,000 is the total it's going to take to renovate the Bullard House into something that is up to code and usable and in good shape. We already have 100,000 for the foundation work that has already been approved. There's CPA has approved another 100,000, which the historic is hoping is the matching part to get us to 300, but there'll still be another 200 odd thousand that will still be needed past that.
So whichever, I'm asking you because you attend these
Yep.
meetings, Scott. So I would ask.
For me,
whichever one.
the historic architect is the piece that sort of kicks all of that off, because to get the RFPs for the 100,000 we already have, and this historic architect report is going to be sort of the key part of writing that matching grant, or the key part of getting the data necessary to write that matching grant.
Okay, so basically one of mine will be the Bullard House.
So that's the 60,000, Scott, right? I'm putting you both in
Yep.
that same.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, the 60,000. Okay.
Yep.
'Cause it did say matching grant application on the 100,000.
Yeah, the 100,000 is, I think that's ultimately going to come from the CPA. The CPA committee of town has already recommended that. It's going to be a warrant article. It's going to go to town meeting. And so for me, that's become less important out of the ARPA funds, because I think it has a path in town.
Okay. I mean, I think some of these we should be putting warrant articles on
Mhm.
for some of these. Okay, question about the sidewalks, the architectural design, and then the engineering study. There are some sidewalks from Berlin Memorial to the town center, because I know we did those years ago. I know they're falling apart probably. They don't go, they end around the corner when it turns to South Street, I believe. And then from there, it doesn't go directly to the school. You might have to walk in gravel or grass or something for a little bit of it. But there are some sidewalks there. They may be in tough shape though, as I did look at them one day when I was driving by, with trying not to have an accident. But then the ones that are in Carterville are in really tough shape. So I guess, I mean, either one of those.
Right, you
And
good?
I
Because
think-
those were your
yeah.
four.
Yes.
Oh, those are 4.
All right, so then mine that I wanted to talk and have discussion on was the building assessment. There's multiple groups who are talking about it, possible could help with pension, possible could help with food pantry, could help with Council on Aging events in there. So that was one. The second one was to do something with the COA director, to do something for Victoria. That woman, there is no price tag that you can put on that woman. The skills that she has, what she has brought to the town, I don't know how she found us, but I am very grateful that she did. My third one was around the highway, the roll-up door. June, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm hoping that I'm wrong, but not this last warrant, but I think the last batch was the electric bill somewhere around 7,000 for the town barn. Awesome. So if you're doing 7,000, and I know in years past, it's been about averaging 4,000 a month, you guys do the math. It's horrendous. So enough said about that. And then my last one was the 1870, the septic. Again, if you could figure out what's going on with the septic, you could open it for COA, you could open it for more revenue opportunities. People could come in, they could have events, you could have people come in and cater, cooking, whatever. So those were my four that I wanted to do a little bit more digging on and see exactly what we have for costs.
And Mary, I think the building one that Peg mentioned, that you have listed as line number 5 is duplicated again at line 81.
Yeah, there's a bunch of duplicates that are in there.
Well, the
Yep.
only reason why I put it there is that
Yep.
top chunk were
Yep.
Margaret's.
Yep.
And it might, I could duplicate it down. 81, you say?
Yep, 81 is the other one. That is the
Okay.
exact same thing. Consultant to evaluate town capital needs and facilities.
Got it.
That was my number 5. So by Peg raising it, that
Ah.
allows.
Should I put a 5 down there or what?
No. We're only
Four
allowed
and a
4.
half. 4.5, 4.1. All right. So Scott, I know that you wanted to see if we could vote and release these money.
Mhm.
Personally, I'm not comfortable with voting and releasing any money. I don't think that there's been enough due diligence on them. I don't think that we've talked to any other committees about them to see what other funding opportunities there are. You know, and as Margaret said in her email, once we spend it, it's gone. So
Right.
I guess I'm just having a bit difficulty understanding the rush to spend money
So,
that we truly
yeah.
just got.
What I hear you saying is you're fine with the $7,000 a month electric bills at the town barn, that we do not want to take action
No.
you take right now to start fixing that problem.
No, I did
Because,
not say that.
We could look for grants, we could wait for town meeting, but every day we wait is another day we're spending a lot of electricity on that building.
So wait a minute, let me ask a question. When I saw that Fred had put that in, I thought he also said that he may have money in buildings to take care of it. Am I wrong?
We have, we have
Can I
so
just
much
ask a
maintenance
question?
needed on so many buildings that I don't believe, I think we have maintenance money, but maintenance money could go to a lot of maintenance things.
June, what's
Have a
up?
question, is the 15,000 that you're talking about here about the roll-up housing for the barn, does that have anything, or is that in addition to the $5,000 trim that I had talked about a couple of weeks ago? Is this the same project, or is this a different project in the highway garage?
Yeah, because I might be getting them confused too.
Are they two separate projects then?
I don't know
don't
the
know.
answer
I
to
don't-
that
I
because
don't
we haven't gone through any of these to ask questions like that. So
Right.
I mean, I'm all
So-
for you, Scott. I fully understand what you're saying on that one. That's a definite one that we need to definitely, I would say, do now.
So the playgrounds, we're fine with delaying the playgrounds longer.
Well, nobody's fine with.
She can start that 3 to 4 month process if she has the money now.
Well, but do you want to be looking back and saying, geez,
Wish
I
we
wish
had."
hadn't spent that
You
money.
want to be looking back because a kid gets damaged, hurt on the
No,
playground
no,
because we
no,
didn't release
no.
the money sooner?
Nobody
they're
No,
wants
Scott,
that.
No, I don't
Nobody
think that we
wants
need
that.
to, like raise unnecessary fears, but we also need to be fiscally responsible as well, is that there are a number of input from town folk, which I am extremely grateful for, that people took the time and put their stuff in. I don't see a rush to move money. Yes, we need to look at something on the door for energy. Absolutely, because that bill that has killed me, as long as I have been selectman, that has killed me, and June has heard my soapbox up one side and down the other. I'm not going to stand on it anymore. But I think that we need to slow down and logically look at this instead of just plowing ahead, because all of a sudden, now that's 20,000 out of the pot, that something else may come up and we go, You know,
And
there's
so
no
maybe we don't
guarantee we're
anybody
going to
until
get that
2024
million
then,
from the
because
state.
things will come up between now and 2024. And so maybe we spend none of it until 2024. I mean, that's the other side of this. If we want to wait till we have every possible piece of information, that means we're waiting until 2024 to spend this.
No, I don't think we're
And
gonna do that, Scott.
And
What
so
saying
I'm not trying to
is-
spend all the money. I'm trying to spend the money on things where there is town committees that have said these are important things to have happen, where there's not another obvious funding source right now, where timeliness is of importance. Because there's a lot of things on this list that are more important to me, but I think you're right. There's more things on it. There's not enough details. And I think some of these other things will bring to light how much those things really might be or whether or not they're relevant.
Well, one of the things that I was not aware of is that we were going to even vote tonight,
Yeah.
because it's not.
I
on
wanted to
the
vote last
agenda.
week. Last week I said we should be ready to start voting. I was expecting last week to start voting on some of these.
You can't unless it says on the agenda that we're going to take a vote.
ARPA has been on the agenda for 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, I know it has, but there's been no word that we're going to vote.
Well, I'll make it easy. I am not willing to cast any type of vote, positive or negative tonight on any of the items without further discussion with other boards, with any type of inspection that needs to be done on the playground. Are they needed? Absolutely. But we need detail. We need information. We just can't jump. That's my
Well,
opinion. So
we
if
can
you're
just
looking
jump
to
if we want
vote-
to. If we want to
Right.
take leadership and make things happen, we could. We could decide we're not going to. But these 4, and I think several others, are things that put the town in a better position faster to get other things happening.
Well, we each had 4. I don't think
Right.
they much overlapped either.
No,
But one of the things I'd like to see happen tonight is can we figure out when we're going to do this workshop, or if we're going to do a workshop, so we can get that ball rolling? Or
I think it was last week that Margaret had recommended end of March, beginning of April.
yes,
That would give people the other groups, because as of right now, you as select board are the only ones who have seen the wish list of ARPA
Yeah.
funding. So it would almost be nice if we could sit down and go through them and get rid of the duplicates and anything that we need additional information on. Even if it's just basic information, it doesn't have to be detail. Just so
Right.
that way there, all the other committees, boards, capital planning also, because I don't know if they have any of these already earmarked somewhere in their list.
yeah.
right.
I would like the minutes to show that I attempted to put in a motion to pass all 4 of these and it died for lack of a second.
Okay, so noted. All right. So, I mean, obviously, we're not done yet. We'll need to regroup with Margaret and figure out, Mary, I don't know, in your spare time, if you could go through and mark line 8 is a replica of line 12, is a replica of line 15 or whatever, just so that the group of 92 now is,
Yeah, I know, but I think that Margaret has hers, and I don't want to be the one that
okay,
changes her. I don't want to be the one that changes even
Mhm.
any Peg. You're half that list. I can't change Peg's wish list either. You know what I mean?
all right. All right, so
Only
you know
one
what?
Peg. There's only
Sort
one.
of
Peg.
why, right, and so why I have my own copy that I've done some of those notes on, because what I think is a duplicate might not really be a duplicate when we look at it. I don't want it to suddenly
Right.
disappear. And someone is upset because I thought things were the same and they weren't.
All right, so then,
Unless you
June,
want me
maybe-
to just take an educated stab at it, but I don't know how I cross note the one cell to another. Scott probably
Right.
knows, but I mean, I could.
Ah.
No, I know. Just being,
I wouldn't. I would have just copied the text from one into the other and just delete one of the lines, but
Yeah, but like even stuff like in confusion, like is the roll-up door trim on the building, and is it solar
Yep.
or is it oil reclamation? And
Yep.
I thought he meant this, and
all right.
Yep.
I don't
So
want to
June-
lose anything by
No, that's
merging
fine. June,
stuff.
so June, let's do this. Maybe for our agenda for Thursday, you or I can be in touch with Margaret before then and see if we can get a date for next steps, with this and what we can combine and what we can, that immediately falls off the list because it does not meet any of the criteria. And we'll watch the shrink and the plan to get it to finance, to get it to the admin finance team, to CPC, and gather feedback on it. Okay. All right, so back up on the agenda. Well, I know here, I know we're shifting, we're kind of bouncing. I know that there are other people in the audience, and Chris, this is totally up to you, your call. That later on in the agenda, and again, if it's all right with the both of you, that you were going to give us an update on the meeting that you had in regard to the River Bridge payments. And I'm just trying to be conscious of the people that are here. So if we could flip it up, if that's all right with you. If not, then we'll just go right back down our list.
No, I think go ahead and do, I mean, June and I can just give you, and I don't think there really wasn't that much to tell for River Bridge. So I think June and I can do that after we do the budget.
All right, so June, back to you.
I will share my screen here. See if this is going to work.
Ta-da.
All right. Trying to think on how, I don't know how much of this you can see. Can you all see it okay, or?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and you emailed out a copy, so what you're showing hasn't changed from that copy, has it?
Correct. Nope, that is the latest. So right now you have voted on all of them except for the ones that you're going to see in yellow. Let's go up to the top. So currently Margaret and I talked, and I think this year we're going to hopefully not need to have any contingency money for outstanding COVID issues in 23. So I think we're going to do a 0 here. So at this time, that's what we're going to do. So I don't know if you need to vote a 0, but that's
Well,
where we are.
Or we could go over all of them and then
Okay.
do a blanket
Yep, we
vote.
typically go over all of them and do a blanket vote of the ones we seem to agree on as part of conversation.
So can I just ask a question?
Sure.
You talked about having the the FinCom fund. What is it called? The reserve fund.
Contingency. Yep, we have the reserve fund.
Reserve fund. You talked about at one point, or maybe Margaret and I talked about at some point, that the contingency may be gone, but that the reserve fund might be increased a bit.
It could be. We have not run that by the finance committee as of
Okay.
today.
I just wondered if any decision had been made. Okay. Go ahead.
The assessors, the assessors lines for the assistant part-time and for the director and the part-time wages. Margaret was reaching out to Molly today to discuss that, but I hadn't heard anything before the meeting, so that right now is still open. Conservation agent, I talked with Margaret, and I also sent an email to Carolyn, and she approved it. The recommendation for this year is to do an 8 hours for the conservation agent in the general fund, which comes out to the 11,786. Currently this year, we did a temporary appointment of the conservation agent. They are currently paying this person out of wetlands when it's wetlands related. And then they are paying it out of open space when it's related to any of the open space, because the wetlands account can only be used for wetlands.
And
So
how many hours are they working now?
Currently, right now, on average, it's been about 7 hours a week. Currently, they have put in 25 hours in wetlands and 82 hours in open space. So right now, they're doing more work in the open space, but I believe it has to do with the grant. But that is not, that's my word, that's not theirs. They did request 12 hours is what you're seeing there for the 17,678.
Okay. That's okay.
They do want more hours than that, but we felt that as of right now, this would be most beneficial to them. And they also hopefully will still have wetlands available because they haven't used up as much as they thought they were going to this year. So they'll still be able to use that fund there if need be over the 8 hours, as long as it's wetlands related.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay. The next one is the fire EMS salary. This here is the chief's salary. This is exactly what he had requested. The others, Margaret is still looking at, so I did not get any response back for those, so you're not going to see them. Hopefully she'll have something for next week. Communication center. This here, the amount for the budget was approved by the finance of the Neshoba. So this here was just increased to that dollar amount. It went up 2.4%.
Really, I think I have a different number.
This is also has a phone system in here also. This isn't just for Neshoba.
It's just, oh, it's not just the assessment?
Correct.
Okay.
It has other expenses in there too. Very minimal, but it does have phone in there also.
Oh, all right. Well, I just figured the number I had was, it says it includes rent, and it even included the 5,000 that we all pay, that's capital.
The 204.
204,606 is what I
That
had.
is correct. That's the assessment. He also has 6,000 for Verizon, $1,295 for emergency notification or code red, and $5,000 for radio maintenance.
Okay,
that's-
okay. So
so
it's
that
not
comes
just
to
the show, but all right, gotcha.
Yep.
No problem.
That
Sorry.
was what we were, nope, that's okay. That's what we were waiting for before we did a final on this.
Right. We had that meeting last week. You did too, didn't you?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
And then I'm going to do both the transfer station, which you've already approved. You approved the 38,905, which is just the transfer station attendance, and the manager down at the transfer station. The Board of Health had asked for an increase in their, in their budget for their part-time wages to assist them with the workload that they've had. And also they've been doing some additional paperwork for the transfer station. Margaret and I talked about this a little bit, and what Margaret's suggestion was to keep the amount of hours, which is 6 hours currently, in the Board of Health line item. 1 second, sorry about that. So there would be the continued 6 hours in the Board of Health line item here. This includes a market rate adjustment and also the COLA. And to put the additional 4 hours, which is approximately the amount of time that's spent on transfer station items, and to include that here in the transfer station part-time wages. So it's going to be splitting her pay between the Board of Health and the transfer station. And what we did is this here was an additional $4,343 that was here. And what we wound up doing was increasing the amount that was coming from the offset receipt sticker money to offset that actual increase. Any questions there?
So the net is 4 extra hours a week for Board of Health transfer station work, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And like I said, we offset that with sticker increases because the sticker increases, just see if it's right here.
Do we know if it's going up this year?
To the best of my knowledge, as of right now, we are not increasing the fees. They did an increase a couple of years ago. Hang on, let me just see if I can find it.
What about the cost for all the, like the glass I've noticed recently? People are just tucking them in trash because they can't find anybody to take the glass away. Are those fees?
They are still working on it, but as of right now, that's where it stands. They're trying to find people that will actually come in and take them away.
Okay.
So currently, Scott, the transfer station is brought into date as of the end of December, has brought in 138,000 in their transfer station stickers and recycling. So we increased it by the $4,400 here. So that's what the offset cost. So that's not hitting the tax base, it's actually hitting the sticker.
And so there's the sticker fees and revenue goes into a revolving fund then,
It does.
much like
And any,
ambulance fees. Yep.
and anything though with this, anything over and above what they spend will go back to the general fund. Because it gets closed out at the end of the year where it's offset receipts. Again, recreation, we haven't put anything in there yet because we were still waiting for those totals to come through to see where we wanted to put them. The largest part of the budget. The school assessments are in. We have put in Assabet assessment and their capital.
Oh, it's a huge jump.
It is.
So it was
and
increased students, wasn't it? I thought Assabet's went up as much because increased students and not because they're spending a lot more money.
I believe
No.
so.
It's usually just the student number.
And we also put in the Berlin Memorial Capital of the 68,000. This amount, I do believe, is coming from free cash. I tried to touch base with Bob Conrad to make sure that the Tohoto Capital was just the repayment of the loan, but he did not get back to me. He was on vacation last week. So if this is just the repayment, that will also just be recommended. But at this time, I didn't feel comfortable enough to say that. And I do know that Margaret did reach out out to Boylston to see where they stood on this, but I did not hear back from Margaret on those. And the Medicare, we are recommending 45,900, which is 2% increase over what we had for last year. And that's where we stand.
So it looks like you're making recommendations on 10 lines. The contingency, conservation, part-time wages, fire, EMS, full-time salary, communication expenses, transfer station, part-time wages, Board of Health, part-time wages, Assabet assessment, Assabet capital, Berlin Memorial Capital, and Medicare.
Yes.
Basically all those with numbers except for the contingency line item, which the number is 0. So it shows up as sort of blank, but you're
And I
recommending
can just
0.
wipe it out, but I just wanted to make sure that you
Yep.
were aware of that.
Yep.
You want to make
I
the
am-
motion, Scott?
I was gonna say, I am fine with the motion of all of those. I know there are some increases there. They seem to make sense. And actually, most of those increases have offsets on them or revenue sources that are going with them. So
Right.
I am fine making the motion to recommend those 10 lines.
And I will second the motion.
Margaret, appreciate all the work that you've done to help explain this to us. Appreciate that. I'll start it off with a stone eye.
Hawkins, aye.
June. Thank
A
you very
June
much.
eye.
A June eye.
A June eye.
A keep eye and a thank you, June.
Very welcome.
All right. All right. Let's see. So, Mary, 30-second or less update, status on overdue town reports. Are we getting closer?
Slowly. I mean, I
there
think by
was
the time
something
it
in that
actually
folder.
goes to the printer, it will be, I mean, yeah, I think by the time it goes to the printer, Energy's in now.
Yep.
Trustee of trust funds is in now. There's a couple of ones that Eloise is literally trying to extract some corrected information on. She gave us one that now is probably going to need to change, so she's going to give us some new information on that.
Margaret's came in.
It's a much shorter list. If you look in tonight's folder, which I don't have handy, the list is shrunk from last week and like almost in half. So, oh yeah, and Margaret's is in, right? So that's
Yeah.
Chris, did
finance.
she res-
And June's noted what 2 more finance committee meetings that are known anyhow, and then they'll finalize theirs.
Okay.
Yeah, finance committee usually, because I asked them about that, and usually they do it with the budget at the same time.
I was gonna say, I think there should be with the budget and the warrant, because it's mostly about the budget and warrant.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what I-
last. It's last.
Yeah, I wasn't sure on how you wanted to handle that, where you were gonna do town reports separate from
Yeah.
budgets.
That is worthy of a discussion point, because that you can make an argument either direction, and we should ultimately decide. I thought they were gonna go with the warrants, but just because I think that doesn't mean that's the right way to go.
Chris, did you ever get a response back from Margaret? I think your question, they're one and the same, that they had this for a name, which you mentioned first, and then they switched it to the name that you mentioned second. Candell?
Oh, the
Yes.
appointments?
No.
No, the marijuana community host agreement.
Right.
Yeah, I think they're the
they
same.
changed it. Yeah, they are the same. I'm just saying that it should be the most recent name change. So it would be Candell,
Yes,
Candle,
Yep.
Candell,
Yep.
whatever.
Candle with an extra letter, yeah. Okay,
Oh.
all right, well,
It depends. Did they do it in this fiscal year, this calendar year, or was it in last calendar year? Because that was the report.
I think everything was in last calendar year. I don't think we've
Yeah.
done anything with them since January.
no, so then it's not Candell, okay.
No,
All
it
right.
is Candell. We haven't even talked with them
Correct,
since
Okay.
the first of the year. So everything happened last year.
all right,
Yep, I'm looking at the fully executed agreement, and it is CANNDLE.
Yeah.
Don't hold that to
Okay.
Margaret. That's me trying to whip together a report. So
Okay.
we can get that fixed.
Yeah.
all right. So Candle with an extra N, all right.
Thank you, Mary.
Cool. All right, so if we keep chugging along, chugga. Updates on town warrant. Yeah, these just like slide right into each other. Margaret sent out another version, correct? And there was a request to
She-
approve
She
one
updated some more information on it.
through 20. Did she ask us to see if we could approve tonight, or am I making that up in my head?
No, I think she did say that. I looked at them and I saw no problem with 1 through 20.
I looked at them, but I can't find them right now.
Or in an email that came in from her at 2:43, if you're checking
Yep,
through
243.
email.
Yep. I was checking in the folder, but realized that email is probably the better one. And, okay,
I told my husband I
So-
needed a monitor. I'm the only one without no two monitors.
It definitely helps.
Well, I got
Eh,
lots of paper.
I don't have any paper, but I have 2 monitors. I wonder where it went.
So I mean, June, do we want to, just for, the audience sake, do we want to take a quick 10-second tour of each one so people know what we're approving or
10
not
seconds.
approving? What was that, 10 seconds?
10 seconds is up.
Okay.
I am always bummed when we have to approve previous year bills. Every year we say, we'll don't ever do it again. We'll just let people get screwed over for not paying their bills in time. And every year we have a motion to approve a previous fiscal year invoice.
I think it's one of those things that's unavoidable because this bill came in after July 1.
It did. It's just, it's a pain.
It's
It is
frustrating.
pain.
Mary, did you put this up on?
If not, I
Or
can
is it-
share it. I've got it up.
Didn't know. For some reason, I thought it was in the,
Here, I'll do a
It
quick.
is in the folder tonight. I just don't have two screens tonight. I'm like, with one leg tied behind
what's
my
it
back.
under?
I know.
What's it under?
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
I got it.
There we go.
Yay,
Okay.
rock star, look at you.
I don't get Article 6. Well, except we're going to go one by one. We'll get to, I don't get Article 6 when we get to Article 6.
All right, one. Overpaid
One.
bill. Is Eric still
Uh.
online? Let's yell at Eric. Is he still here?
It
Although I'm
just
sure he's
came
not the
in
one who didn't
past-
mail it out to
It came in past July 1,
Well,
so
I'm here.
what are you gonna do?
I'm here.
Look
I
at,
got
I'm
this-
here.
I got
Eric's
this
there.
bill in December.
Yeah.
This bill came in December for me.
And we've actually paid $300, approximately $300 worth of it. This was just, we didn't have enough money to cover this.
All right, we'll forgive Eric. All right, article.
I think it's UMass Memorial we should be upset at.
Yeah,
That's a whole nother story.
all
Yes.
right. So sunset clause to extend it.
Just wanted to extend the sunset, because we did actually vote on this on town meeting to
Right.
have a clause on it, and we just want to extend it because I know that Eric and the chief were having a hard time getting vehicles in, and I just don't want it to be a problem.
It's a pandemic problem.
Yep. All right, 3, another sunset clause extension regarding parking lot.
Yep. So we can do some of the landscaping that Chris would want done, which is a
Yeah,
good
so-
idea.
And this was the one that we were thinking that the money that we actually put in the special article, there's additional funds left over. So if we can, like Scott said, put it towards the landscaping in the front of the building, a little bit of repairs, then that's what we were going to ask to do.
Okay. 4, transfer public safety mitigation payments to public safety stabilization.
They actually set up the stabilization fund last year, and this year is just so this way here, any money that comes into the town will automatically go into it.
Right. This vote saves us from having to do votes every year going forward. This now means that
That
money
is our
coming from
plan,
Highland Commons
yes.
goes into this fund. Yep.
Yep, so the only thing we'll have to
Until the
do is
Attorney
vote
General
on
says
it.
differently.
Exactly.
Well, we'll be getting a new one of those. All right. All right, so open space. So June, this is the 50,000 that goes to conservation from Solomon Pond, and we already have the money from them?
This year, we have to sit down and talk about this exactly, how we're gonna handle this, because based on the financial audit that we had done, I can't think of the word for it, I'm sorry.
Right.
Yep.
The
ELS.
state audit that, yeah,
Yep.
the, this was one of their recommendations, is so that it doesn't, because we did not set up a stabilization fund for this. This is actually a trust fund, which is what open space actually is. So this would have to go into the general fund. And the only way for us to get it to open space would be to do this type of an article every year to move the money from the general fund, free cash, into the open space account.
There's only 3 more years left on this, correct?
I have to double check, but I think there is just a few more years left on it. So
Okay.
we almost made it by.
Do we have to put anything in here that there's only a couple years left on it? I mean, I would hate for money to,
I mean, we could do that. I can just put a notation in it as a through date.
yeah, I would just hate for someone to look at this and go, oh, well, you said that, you said the town was gonna give us $50,000, so give us $50,000.
Well, you might want to ask conservation too,
About,
whether they would prefer having us, do this every year or,
But there isn't a choice. That's pretty much what the
oh, okay,
financial
The
auditor
auditor
is
said.
saying.
right.
all right. Yeah, if you could put a date on there, 2 payments, 3 payments, ends by blah, 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 I'd be happy with that.
Okay.
All right, Scott, here it comes. Here's number 6.
6, I don't get this. I thought we had a contingency line in the budget to pay for this specific project. I don't know why we need an article at town meeting to also do it.
Well, let's see, collective bargaining negotiations are ongoing.
Oh,
So
fiscal
because
year.
they're still
I now get it.
ongoing.
Fiscal year. Right, but this is fiscal year, because we could have a contingency line for fiscal year 23, but there is a chance that in the final agreement, because these negotiations have been going on forever, that includes the money for fiscal year 22, that unless we have a warrant article that specifically says we can pay for those, we can't pay for those. I get it.
Technically,
It took me a moment.
unfortunately, yeah.
It took me a
Yeah.
moment. Otherwise, this becomes an unpaid bill from a previous year that we have to have a motion after the fact on, which we just discussed how much we love those. So,
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
There we go.
and this will be difficult because there's no dollar amount in this.
No.
And having any dollar amount in it sort of says this is the amount of money that we could give police officers for fiscal year 22. And so it sort of tips the hand of how much we might be willing or not willing to give.
Well, we actually
Fortunately,
we have not moved one iota since
Yep.
Margaret went out on medical leave, and the ball, I believe, is in the police court. And so
We can
we're
always-
waiting to
We
hear.
could always move to Passover.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So,
I'm interested to see how we or FinCom or somebody comes up with a dollar amount to put into this article.
well, we shouldn't need any money to put into this article, but
Wait and see. Okay.
Yep.
All
Okay.
right,
You've answered my
Scooting
question
down.
though, at least. Yep.
all right. Scooting down to 7. The ambulance replacement. Is this the one that's coming from fees that we're collecting, so there's no money out by the town? Correct,
Yeah.
right here?
That-
Available
yes,
ambulance
that is
receipts?
That is correct. I believe that the ambulance cost has actually gone up. So
Yes,
he
it
needed
has.
additional funding. And so this is what this article is for.
So do we have an amount-ish?
no, I don't think we do.
I thought ambulances were like 400,000.
I don't
Or is this just
honestly
equipment
know. I didn't
But-
think it was a huge amount. I can double check on
Whoops, sorry. Is
Well,
Chief still
if
here?
they needed more money though, Peg, they would actually have to have an additional warrant article. Because
Right.
What's
this is,
this?
So it has to be enough,
If
it
there's
has
not
to at least
enough-
come from their fund, right?
yeah, it has to be covered by this.
And
receipts.
to their effect, the chief has been doing a good job at getting, increasing the amount of receivables we have to be able to do things like this. So, and so we're going to be fine with 7 as long as what Peg raised, there's enough money in the fund to cover.
Yeah,
Yeah, we have to be careful because we did just pull the whole ambulance last year out of it. So we still want to make sure we always have at least 100,000 in there because that's what we use for the regular budget.
Yep.
all right. All right, PEG funding, I gotta tell you, when I first started on the board and I saw PEG funding, I'm like, psych, I'm getting like $10,000. And then I realized, yeah, that's not me. So this, you know what? Hey, June promised me a raise. That was in, way years ago when I was going through, and I saw that, and I think I
You
still
blew
have it
it.
on my book.
You blew it.
Yeah, just pass over it. Okay. So PEG
This is
funding
mon-
for cable
yeah.
access.
This is
They-
money
they
that comes
come-
out of
that
their
money-
actual
Yeah.
grant that they get every year,
Whoops.
but it has to be appropriated for them to actually spend it. I know that I can't remember. I think there should be another one in here also. This is so that
There
they have
is.
enough money to fund the wiring
Yep.
in the town offices.
Okay, all right. All right, so scooting down, I know one's gonna, so 9 through 15 are gonna be clumped.
Right, and they're pretty standard.
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
16 is town reports.
Yeah, all right, so here's the money for that.
17 is the revolving funds that we allow.
Yep, 16.
18 is additional PEG spending. We can't
So
combine the
that-
2 PEG spendings into one.
It depends on when they're gonna spend the money. If they spend it in this year before the end of June, it
Oh,
has to go in the
yep,
beginning.
yep.
We are in the process of Peg, can you stop one sec? Or is
Yep.
that Mary?
No, that's
Go
me.
down just a little bit to back up to the revolving. Just so
Mhm.
you know, we're switching over. Margaret is updating this. So we
Yeah.
currently no longer have the dog licensing and the assessors. We are going to add in the plumbing inspector and the electrical inspector in here so we can do away with the offset receipts. This way here, it's easier for us in the accounting and also for their office. So we don't have to account for it the way that we are because of the split year with the revolving, the money stays there. So only the money that should be going into their payments will go into these funds. The additional money that would normally at the end of the year be closed out and turned over to the town, we don't have to do that step because it'll automatically be going into the general fund.
So okay, it'll behave like ambulance receipts and
Actually
the
better
transfer station
because
ones. Yep.
it'll be even better because then we don't have to, we only have to do that one little article like we do with the town hall. Every year, we don't have to do the part
Good.
in the motion.
Okay, so this one was for fixing up the rooms with audio and video.
Project, hopefully.
19. Oops. So June, do you want to go through this one?
I don't have a lot of background on this, unfortunately, but these here are the command car replacement, which has gone through and been approved through capital planning. Airbag for the rescue system. Those are both coming out, and the police cruiser are all coming out of the public safety funds. Highway hot top, that's our regular one that we normally do.
Yep.
Highway, the 2006 replacement
Yep.
is coming from free cash.
I think Margaret had asked about this one.
And this may be placed as a special article.
I'm guessing because it didn't go through the capital plan.
Okay.
Right.
So it would have to probably be its own article where it wasn't part of that approval. I'm gonna double check
So-
with Margaret on the sunset clauses because we don't necessarily want to use those anymore based on that financial review. It's when the project is completed, we'll close it out.
Right. So instead of having a sunset clause, we're gonna have like wording that says when the project's completed, the remaining funds will be closed out back to the source they came from or something like that, right?
Yeah, so pretty much what it is that at the end of the year, I usually give out forms. So as soon as that form comes back, I'll be able to do the closing, so it doesn't have to become another special article to close out all these special articles that aren't used anymore.
Because the sunset clause was something that we came up with FinCom when I was there.
But so people didn't hold it open forever and ever and ever.
And we didn't need special articles to close them out anymore. Now we're having special articles to keep them open, which somewhat defeats the purpose, but yes. So if we have them, I would make them 2 years, not one, because we just learned that vehicles sometimes take a little bit longer. And so what I would like to do, because of the questions about the planning commission and the question about sunset clauses, I think I would be fine with saying that we are okay with motions 1 through 18.
Yeah.
And with some of the notes we have, like we need a couple of numbers, but generally 1 through 18 looks in pretty good shape.
I agree.
Okay, so we'll hold on 19 and then, yeah.
And 20 is the
Stop at
budget,
20.
which we're still working. Yep.
Yep. So do you need an official motion there, Ms. Poland, so that we can get it off to town council?
I think probably we do.
Yes. Yeah, I
Okay.
think we do too. So I will move that we approve for the warrant articles 1 through 18 in the draft that we have seen.
And I'll second that.
All right. Again, thank you, June and Margaret, for pulling all that together. Much appreciated, and everyone else's input. Stone eye.
Hawkins, aye.
Keith, aye.
Right. All right. So we are getting there. What is up next?
I would like for next week's meeting, if we have a meeting next week,
Yep.
or whenever our next meeting is, to talk about the bylaw changes that are out there. So if we can get those approved and sent over to legal as well.
Bylaw
I'm
for
only
personnel and earthworks.
Yes, I've only cursorily looked at the two of them, so I don't know if even I'd be ready to vote right now, but if I want to make sure if we talk about it now to be ready to vote next time. So those, because those are the ones I think the lawyer might have more say on than the, the plug ones that are worded the same way every year and have been for a decade.
Did we get those?
Yes,
would-
Margaret
uh,
sent them in an email.
Oh,
And
I
I
haven't-
can tell you that I reached out to Earthworks and basically said, hey, we're gonna go forward with this. This is from town council, so if you have any input,
Right.
I'd suggest that you meet and get it back to us. Otherwise, we're rolling with it. So,
Which makes it our
Margaret's-
warrant article, not theirs.
yep. Yeah, Margaret sent that out, Chris.
is that
It's
today?
actually, I think, uploaded too. I think it's in there actually double.
Yeah, she
There were
sent
so
that
many,
out.
there were so many things in that folder. I couldn't figure out what was what. I started reading some things, but I didn't get to all of it.
Yeah, no, she sent that out. There was a bevy of stuff that went out this afternoon. 3:40.
Personnel,
Yeah.
I would
So
imagine
Chris,
if
you
we're
look
gonna
at- if you
talk
look
about
at
it,
your-
if we're gonna talk about it, well, either next week or the week
Please.
after.
Yep.
Then we'll probably, it'll be in that folder too, correct?
Yep, we'll make
that
sure
would
that
be
it's
a
in the
really
right
great
place.
idea.
I'll look for it though. What did you say the date was, or the,
She sent
Fine.
it today at 3:20 and it's called Draft ATM Handouts for Personnel Bylaw and Earth Removal and Import Bylaw. So,
okay,
Just to give you
all
a
right,
quick summary on the bylaw. What the thought process is that the majority of it is being eliminated in the physical bylaw to make it so that it has, most of the changes can be made through the TA personnel with a final vote from the select board. So that way there, they don't have to, every time you change a holiday or something like that, it doesn't have to go through town meeting for a change to the bylaw.
okay,
okay,
But there still isn't, it still has to go through a process, so it's not just one group voting on any change. So it has to go through more than one.
okay.
all right, cool, all right. Some more to come on that. All right, June, you're up. Are there any recommendations that you care to share with us for potential appointments for open positions?
I had one, but Margaret is back now, so I figured I would throw that towards her and she can confirm our thought process on it and then give it her blessing.
Okay,
So,
all right, well, we'll just make sure that it shows up on our next agenda.
Yep.
All right, Chris, you are up now for Riverbridge mitigation payment update.
June, that means June's up too, right? June,
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
who went to the
you want
meeting?
me to, I,
we both did.
Oh, okay.
So,
So-
Rock, paper, scissors.
so I'll start, June, and if I forgot anything, just say you want to add something or whatever.
Okay.
So we met with the group that meets with Chris and Matt Senni on March 1st. There was the town's engineer, Carl Ayers, June and I, Fred from Highway, Chief Shartner, Chief Clark, and Stan Rogolinski. Did I forget anybody? I don't think so. And the only thing that we really did talk very shortly about the payments, and June did not feel comfortable about checks being written from Fred Rodell to the Sennies and then just signing it over. So she checked with Margaret and the checks will now be written to the town of Berlin. Fred can send his check to the Sennies. The Sennies will write a new check to the town and we should be all set.
Right, so maybe I missed something on that, because when we met a couple weeks ago, we were supposed to get a check from Hotel Fred, because that's what we were calling him, on the 15th of every month, but now that changed where he was going to pay the Sennies and then the Sennies were gonna pay us.
Yes,
That-
yes.
But-
So, but it's still due the 15th of March.
yeah, the problem is that Hotel Fred wants to make sure that he has legal record, that he is actually buying the Senni's shares of the hotel. So originally that was what they wanted to do, was to have the check written to the Senni's or River Bridge, And then we would have to wait for the Sennies come in to endorse the check over to the town of Berlin. And
No.
we're not here to take care of their business transactions. So it was requested that they do all of their business stuff behind the scenes and they can issue us a check on the 15th, made out to the town of Berlin, not made out to a third party or second party or whatever you want to call it.
So who is dropping off the check on the 15th of the
Should be
month?
River Bridge.
And we have a firm commitment from them that come the 15th, there'll be a knock on your door and there'll be a check in hand?
Hopefully.
What they say.
And
So-
no contingencies if it doesn't show up?
There
Don't have
is
anything in our
no
legal
way-
documents.
We don't have any legal way to do that.
Okay.
Do you want to hear about the rest of the meeting or no?
Yeah, I'm gonna
I would.
ponder on that. So yeah, go ahead. I'll just take notes.
Okay, so Matt and Chris shared with us that they have talked with Contech and got a quote for $38,500. Was that for the bridge?
That was for the walking bridge, I believe.
Okay, the pedestrian bridge. Okay. And then the civil engineering, a quote would be about 8,500, which includes the notice of intent. And UEL was the contractor for, did you have that written down, June? Maybe that was for the bridge itself. Bridge widening.
We're
Hey.
we're waiting for the actual architectural design so we can have an idea on what the cost would actually be for that. Because
Right.
apparently the attorneys were the ones who wrote up the contract, the River Bridge contract, and they didn't really know about bridge expansion. So in their minds, they could just easily put in a section.
Right.
But after Fred and his engineers came and took a look at it, it can't be done that way because it has something to do with steel supports or something. So
There's a piece that holds the whole entire thing together. So that was the question that we should hopefully get an answer to at some point, was because they're going to take another look at the pedestrian bridge being built first or with the bridge deck widening. And that was
Also-
basically the question we need answered.
we also need to get a waiver, is that the right, or an easement because of, from Banner Door? Wasn't it that
I think there was an easement.
I thought we had to
there.
double check in that. I thought
Yeah, they may have to double check it. And then there was another question that we'll be looking for the answer to from Carl, who was our town engineer, and Fred, about what the width of the pedestrian bridge, what it should be, because if you're going to use it just for walking, that's one thing, but if you're going to use it for bicycle and walking, it may need to be wider. So that was something that the town wants to be able to determine.
because the contract actually says walking and bicycle.
Right.
So that was a question that came up.
So that was basically what my notes said. If that was helpful, great.
It was.
Okay.
I know that Tom Sanford and Tim Wheeler are here at their last meeting. They had talked about River Bridge and kind of what was going on. So I let them know that, Chris, you were meeting with them. So that's why they're here. So they had questions about the various projects that were going on by River Bridge and status. So I didn't know or don't know if Tom/Tim, if you have any questions, for Chris that she can bring back. Thank you for zipping them up to the big table.
Well, either that or I'm happy to, take an email too at any time.
So Tom or Tim, you're both on mute. I don't know if you have any questions. So what about the, I thought that there was something with the traffic up by the post office that they were supposed to do something about as well.
They are, but this meeting was just focused on the
Money?
bridge. Well,
Oh,
we thought we had the money all straightened out. The only thing we discussed at this meeting about the money was the fact that the town of Berlin wants a check made out to us and not have something that the Sennies sign over to us. So basically that was pretty much all taken care of. And now we'll wait to see what happens.
I see Tim unmuted.
Yeah, Mr. Wheeler.
Yeah, I'm not sure where to head with any of my questions. Where do we stand, I guess, with the 50,000?
The 50,000 for,
Well, there's that 50,000 obligation if they don't build the CCRC and,
it's still there. It's still on the books.
right?
I'm sure that they probably would like to have us forgo that, but we have not.
No, but I thought our last agreement with them postponed it out another several years. It hasn't actually started coming due yet.
Well, it hasn't, no, I believe it
That
has.
50,
I don't
right.
have the contract in front of me, so I couldn't tell you what the date wise what it is.
Well, is it 22?
No, I don't think so. Or no, I don't think so.
Okay.
I'll have to get back to you.
And then the other question would be in regard to the interest on the part of the town to acquire the River Run parcel for $1. And
And we pushed that date out also.
right.
Um,
And I think the planning board at some point would probably like to talk to the selectmen about the status of that and whether we want to exercise our option, because I think we're exploring opportunities to utilize that parcel.
Okay. Maybe that would be something that either you or Tom or both of you could attend, like a meeting, like a pre-meeting before we go to talk with the Sennies. We could speak with the two of you, unless you wanted the whole planning board.
No, I don't think so.
Because you might want to share it with those of us that are trying to negotiate with the Sennies.
Yeah, I think that might be helpful. We'd also talked in the past about whether we want to circle around and have a conversation with town council about the issues involved in our taking control of that.
Yeah,
I mean, there's access, there's the road network into it. I mean, there's a bunch of things, so.
yeah. It's June, is Margaret accepting emails? Is she reading your emails?
She's
Tim,
trying to, yeah.
you'd probably see whether she had any update from council about that parcel. Check with her first.
Okay,
And then we can, if she thinks it's a good idea, we can probably have you and Tom come to a meeting with just our side of the negotiation team.
yeah, that would be good. Now, and then what is your expectation in regard to the junction of South and Pleasant, and when will that be a topic of conversation with the Sennies?
I'm sure they would love to talk about some of these things, quickly. They're all about having more and more meetings, and we've just sort of, they've kind of fallen off the radar just semi-permanently while Margaret's out on medical leave. But if we did set meeting dates with them monthly.
So
Good.
when's your next one?
The next one would be April, and it's probably at the beginning of April because this one was.
I'm showing, I think it's April 5th at noon, I think.
So
Yes,
if it's
it is.
April 5th at noon, then probably over the next couple weeks, Tim and Tom, if you wanted to host a meeting to talk to Chris and company, I suppose, get
Yeah,
that on the books,
good.
or bring it back to your board to
Yeah.
Well,
decide what you wanted to do.
It is good to see that there's progress being made in regard to the bridge and trying to define some costs. I think that intersection of Pleasant and South has the potential to be a significant dollar figure, and it needs to be explored.
Mhm.
And that's an engineering issue as well, so.
Right. Yeah. I know we did push that date out also, right?
Right, but,
We did.
there needs to be
Yeah,
a generalized understanding of what the cost is. And I think the fact that they are obliged to take on the responsibility at some point in the future is one point, but the other point is what do we imagine the cost would be? And I don't know as there's an agreement between us, the town and the Sennies, as to what the full build out would be at that site.
yeah. I thought maybe planning board might know a little bit more about that.
Well, I think when I was involved with conversations with Chris and Matt, I don't think they assumed that it would be as extensive a project as we thought. I know Tom Galvin, when he was still here, thought about some possibilities, and all of them were robust enough so that they wouldn't be just a minor alteration here and there. It would be a significant change, I think. So
Yeah.
that needs to be explored. The language in the development agreement, may not be explicit enough, but I mean, it does say that they will deal with the reconfiguration of that intersection, as I recall. So I think we need
Yeah.
to make sure we keep that on the radar, because it's
It's on the radar.
it's potentially as significant as the bridge in
Right.
some ways. So
And I think the bridge isn't in need of being widened immediately, but I think the Sennies have talked about the fact that they are going to do relending from their bank
mhm.
in order to pay for it. And at this point in time, maybe it's better to do one big expensive project at a time. But it's not off the radar, that's for sure.
Good.
So
So-
yeah, stay in touch and copy me if you do email Margaret.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep,
Thank you,
that's
So
good.
guys.
then-
Thank
Good
you.
job.
So then the things that truly we're waiting for this whole river bridge is the 15th, which is next Tuesday, to make sure that a check is dropped off. June, you're going to be out of the office, correct?
I
So
am,
then-
but Dennis will definitely
will get
send
it?
out an email. Yep.
All right. And then, so then there still needs to be discussion about the width of the bridge. Well, there's really not a discussion about the width of the bridge if the contract says walking and bicycle, so that's really not a discussion point. The $50,000 is a discussion point. River Run is a discussion point. The bridge is a discussion point. So maybe after the money is in hand, then can we start to pick off some of these other items for, I get too close to the camera. Well, I was like reading and I kept like leaning forward and then realized, oh crap, I got scared.
Scared yourself.
I did. It's not hard to do. So then we can expect maybe a monthly update from you, Chris / June.
Yeah.
When
Yeah,
you
if
meet
they're
with
having
them.
monthly meetings, I think it's good to
Yeah.
get a monthly update.
All right, so I'm gonna plop something on the agenda for April 11th, just as a placeholder, and then June, when you tell me differently, then we'll just move it. Okay. Oh, I wrote June 11th, honest to God.
No, April.
Thank you,
Yep.
thank you. All right. Next meeting on agenda. Okay, well, fingers crossed. The next Tuesday, we'll all get an awesome email from,
Dennis,
Mr.
it's gonna be, yeah.
I hope so.
Yep.
All right. Down under new business, we're wrapping up. I know tonight was a late night. Thank you for staying with us. So discuss whether to meet next Monday or not, or take a break and come back on the 21st. So June, I know that you're gone. Margaret won't be with us. You're probably going to be knee deep in studies. So Skip, is there anything like, oh my God, we have to absolutely meet next week, or can it wait? I'm looking up at the calendar. Can we wait a week?
Well, between now and a meeting would have to be posted on Thursday, right?
Correct. Yep.
So if there was anything that was absolutely time sensitive, we could just meet to do that.
Okay.
But
mean,
otherwise, I
We
would
have
say,
warrant articles to look at, potentially the bylaws that were out there. Although without June or Margaret, it's hard, but there are potentially appointments out there. I'd hate to have someone who passes on hiring us because it took us hired by the time because it took us an extra couple of weeks to get them through. But again, we probably won't know that until Thursday sort of anyway. I'm always up for talking more about what we're doing next for ARPA, whether or not that's removing some, declaring some duplicates, preparing the list to send out, deciding who's going to start researching some of the ones we have no details on. Because time is opportunity, and we're going to have anything more in the budget, because at some point the budget has to get done too.
well, it is
We
only,
definitely need to wait.
It's pretty early in March. Still.
All right.
I'm going to blink my eyes and it's going to be late April. So
No kidding. Before you know it, it's town meeting time, so.
Man,
It was February 1st, 3 days ago. So, I mean, time goes fast.
I know,
Alright.
I know.
I'm
I wouldn't
always
mind
fine
having a
with
break,
skipping
though.
meetings. It probably
wouldn't
means that the meeting on the 21st is longer.
Yep.
And so we just have to be ready for a longer meeting on the 21st.
Yep. Bring your snacks, bring your large mug of tea. Because we'll be here for a while and hammer everything out. Well, it also depends upon if, what Margaret can do with any of the budget items or what she can do with the bylaws.
Yep.
So, June, I'm
if
sure
Board
you'll
of Health-
touch base with her.
Right.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if Board of Health rescinds the mask mandate, they don't need another motion from us to remove the town, because our motion was
let
that
them
the
know.
mask mandate is on the Board of Health. And so they don't need us to, on the 14th, to do anything. I'm just trying to think of just going through my brain of all the things that might need us to act next week.
Well, they don't meet until the 15th anyway, so
Right.
even if we
Well, that
met on
doesn't
the
make sense.
14th, there's nothing that we could do.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, June,
So-
I'll chat with you on Thursday and we'll figure it out.
Yep. So I think the bias is towards not having the meeting unless when you guys meet on Thursday, there's something that feels like a need that we have to meet on Monday for.
Yep.
Right, because you'd
Okay.
have to post anyway if
Okay.
you were going to. All right.
All right. We'll keep you posted. Couple more items. So Chris, I don't know, you brought this up last week to plans about returning to live in-person meetings with the hopes of keeping Zoom, but do we wait until we get a decision from the Board of Health? Because it's kind of silly to talk about in-person meetings if they tell us.
Well,
No.
I just wanted to ask if there was any information that could be shared at this meeting yet.
Right.
from-
'Cause
from Brittany Or from,
Right.
I'm not concerned, I mean, because we can do these Zooms through till July, what is it,
Correct.
July 7th or June 7th, if we have to. My concern is being prepared once we
Mhm.
do decide to go back to in-person, rather than just throwing on,
Yep.
having people not be connected
Right.
in a live way.
So I'd like to potentially invite to a near meeting someone from cable access to talk about sort of what technology is needed, what is needed to pull it off, because I think we could start planning for it, because I think in-person meetings would happen at some point, even if for some reason the mask mandate sticks on for a while, or even if we decide we want to keep meeting this way until late April, but to start talking about what is needed and start putting that stuff in place so that we're ready to pull the trigger, we are really ready.
Yes, exactly. And that was my concern.
Yep.
Let me just share with you quickly. Over the weekend, I watched the MMA webinar called Municipal Strategies for Online and In-Person Engagement. And the key points were communicate with the public, poll the public, you know, whether like, would you like a live meeting or whatever, however you'd like to poll them, your plan, your, or poll, yeah. Poll the public of your plan, have proper amplification. Then there was a couple of things that, I don't know whether you've heard of them, Scott, maybe I really hadn't. SteamYard
Mhm.
is you could do SteamYard, Facebook Live, Google Forms, People Speak are the last two are for hybrid participation. I don't know, it was pretty interesting. But it's on the MMA website for the January annual conference. And you
Yeah,
can look
we
at
had,
those for free.
I know that we talked about Facebook Live, and Scott, it was before you got here, and I had reached out to a couple towns who were actually doing it. And honestly, they said, all you need, you know, there's Mr. Bradley rolling us, and somebody's got a tablet or laptop so they can watch it on Facebook, and they've got a question and it comes in, and then somebody goes, question from the audience. So, you know, I don't know. We can talk to, I'm looking up, do you want to bring in Brittany, ask if she's available on the 28th to come in and
Oh,
talk to us about
Sure.
options?
Sure.
Sure.
You know,
Because
unless
like something like
somebody else-
Facebook, you know, requires them to have an account, where Zoom doesn't
I know.
require them to have an account to
Right.
attend us. And, you know, Facebook is one of those places that tracks a lot of data about what you do once you have the account. And so I'm not a big fan of using them, and but there are several products out there that don't require the person on the other end to have an account.
Okay, all right. I will send a note out to Brittany and ask her to come on the 28th to discuss options for some type of hybrid account of us coming back live, having it go out there, having this happen, and so people can stay in touch.
I
Okay.
did reach out to her to see if there was any suggestions that she had to, but I didn't hear anything back yet.
Okay, all
Okay.
right. I'll whiz her an email tonight. Next up is to accept the donation from Mike Sawyer Contracting to the Berlin Conservation Commission to use as they see fit. So that was a $3,000 donation. So June, what do we need to do? Just say,
Was there any
So moved.
stipulation on it?
Nope.
Nope.
They could use it however they see fit.
Okay.
Yep. I
Well, I
think that
guess
sounds like
we-
a great idea.
I
Yeah, I
think
was
we
gonna
just
say,
need to vote to approve to accept it.
Yep.
So moved.
second,
all right, Stone Eye.
Hawkins, eye.
Keith, aye.
And Scott, you need to get down to the town office and sign it. Chris signed it, I signed it, so it just needs your John Hancock, and then we can
Okay,
whiz it out in the mail.
I'll
All right,
swing down tomorrow morning and sign the warrants at the same time.
cool.
Conservation, thanks you.
All right, last item under new business. Job descriptions for assistant to the accountant and administrative assessor.
I'm told they were just
Mary
uploaded.
just pop those in. So if
Yep.
you're comfortable with approving them, if not, we can always postpone.
And
The
they've
one-
gone through personnel, right?
Yes, both of them have been approved. The one for the accounting assistant to the accountant was just pretty much the title. She is would like to apply for certification at school, and it is based on your job description and whether or not she gets points for it or not. So that's what that request was for, and they had already voted to change it, but they hadn't actually changed it on the paperwork. And the administrative assessor was also approved by personnel, and they are just holding that before they can advertise so that they have a job description.
So I would make a motion to approve both job descriptions, assistant to the accountant and administrative assessor.
I would second.
Stone Eye.
Hawkins, eye.
Keith, aye.
All right, you go, Amy. Go get your certification. All right. Last up, our board's questions, comments, liaison updates.
My meetings are all this week, so I have stuff we'll say whenever we meet next.
Okay.
I
Chris?
had the Neshoba Valley Regional Dispatch District admin meeting. I'll just make this quick. The executive director, Ann, is making a state 911 grant request of $200,000 for 3 projects. I don't know, I guess I did not write down what those projects were. Working on, and she's also working on continuity/disaster plan. The part-time treasurer position is filled. The admin position will be hired in the next 3 weeks. FY23 budget was approved by FinCom. That's June. And I think FinCom also approved the dispatch CBA at their update. Am I correct? June? What?
Correct?
Correct?
Is it Contract?
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, as long as it can be funded out of the regular, don't
I
know what
think
you
they're
call it.
assuming so, the assessment.
We told them no, under the capital. They cannot use the capital on wages. No.
I was gonna ask them that, but you know what? I
Yep.
did not ask that and they didn't say a thing.
Yep, we had already said no on that one.
Okay, so here you go, Peg. The FinCom approved the budget, which is $2,274,600. It's a 2.56% increase. Our assessment, which you said I have a little low number, 204,606. It includes rent, which is $43,000 less than last year, thanks to our representative from Devon's. And the notice of withdrawal from Townsend will probably go into effect on July 1. We're also still looking at several other communities. And the next meeting will be March 24th at 2:30.
All righty.
That's it.
All right, and I just had one, my committees haven't met. So I just had one, I picked up the Boston Cane Pin and Award from the office and drove by the Lang residence on Saturday and had a wonderful opportunity to speak with Arthur Lang's son, Jay. Presented him with the certificate and pin. You know, he was grateful that we continued to do this after his dad had passed, but it was a nice opportunity. I mean, Jay, I know Jeff, Jay, I could pass on the street and not tell you who he was, but had a great opportunity to stand outside with him for about an hour and a half where he shared memories about his dad and his mom and, you know, his grandparents and the upbringing in Berlin. And we kind of agreed that the shenanigans we probably all got away with in town as a kid. There's no way that we could do it now, you know, because all it took was from Henry and Roger Bradley was a, do you need me to call your mother statement, and whatever shenanigan was going on was stopped, or whatever shenanigan was thought about was quickly
When you were,
removed.
you went to Berlin Memorial, correct?
Yes.
And did you have Mrs. Wheeler as the secretary there at that time?
I don't know if she was there. I can tell you that it was a race every time the teacher asked who wanted to go do mimeograph sheets. It was like, you know, beat up the kid closest to you so you could run down and smell the mimeograph paper as you were coming back up the hall. So, come on, you can't deny it. You cannot deny it.
Well,
That's
see,
right up there with the
I didn't have a mimeograph machine. I always had a copier. But
No.
Gene Wheeler would never let people get away with stuff either.
Oh, yeah, no. So no, it was really nice to talk to Jay and talk about how Berlin was and how Berlin is and just how kind of cool it is to truly be a resident of this town and to watch the changes. So, you know, very appreciative that the board continued to, you know, to vote to give Mr. Lang posthumously his award. So, you know, I thank you. And Jay, on behalf of his family, thanks you.
Well, I certainly hope that he knows we really would have liked to be there, but we really appreciate you know.
Absolutely.
game.
Absolutely. No, I think it was one of those things that, his dad knew that it was coming. Unfortunately, timing was not on anybody's side. But,
Yeah.
grateful, and then to reminisce about moving back into the family home and dear God, other people come in and say, oh, well, that's ugly. Just get rid of that. And you can look at it and in a heartbeat, be brought back 40 years of a memory of
Mm.
just a glass, that your parents used when they entertained. So yeah, it was cool to share those types of memories with him. So very nice. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So I will get a note out to Brittany and we'll figure out what we're going to do about next week. Dennis will keep us posted for next Tuesday.
Fingers crossed.
Yep.
Everything, cross them. And I will take a motion to adjourn this very long meeting.
So moved.
Second,
All righty. Stone Eye.
Hawkins, aye.
Keith, aye.
All right.
Thank
See you later,
you.
June. I'll talk
Thanks,
to you
everyone.
soon.
All right, take
Yep.
care, everybody.
Bye.